the lives of other people and you recoil from that, you hate that, this is not new. You can go back to any time in human history, and in most societies, there is not a concept of only two genders. There have been all sorts of ways of differentiating different people's experiences and perspectives. You may not be knowledgeable about that. I'm certainly not an expert on that, but I know that it's not new. Anyway, this isn't just a rando. This is a lieutenant governor. This is a person whose beliefs in this area could affect the lives of people, potentially millions of people. And that should bother all of us. We're gonna go into a little bit more about his views. Let's take a look at this video.
Stuff, and we are talking about God stuff. And I'm asking you, what purpose? If homosexuality is of God, what purpose does it serve? What does it make? What does it create? It creates nothing. Somebody asked me in the classroom one time, we were talking about, and they said, this fellow was a homosexual, looked at me and said, so you think your wife and you think your heterosexual relationship is superior to my husband and our homosexual relationship? Yes. Now let's look at it this way. Gay couple, straight couple, dark room. 9 months later, gay couple, 2 people. 9 months later, heterosexual, 3 people. These people are superior because they can do something these people can't do. Because that's the way God created it to be.
Technically, if you take 2 straight people, put them in a dark room, shut them up for 9 months, at the end you have 2 people who died of hunger and starvation literally months ago. But I get the point that he thinks he's trying to make. Have you come up with any issues with that there? You probably have, because he's hardly the first person to make these stupid sorts of points. We were talking about Always Sunny in Philadelphia earlier. There's an incredibly homophobic character on there that once tried to make the case for why gay marriage shouldn't be legal by taking 2 plugs and banging them together. This is 1% more clever than that satire of a lizard-brained homophobe. Here's the issue with that. Reproduction is not the only purpose that humans can aspire to. There are plenty of straight couples that don't want to have kids, or for a variety of reasons can't have kids. That happens. So when you reach a certain age, a straight couple in a dark room, and they can't bear children, they can't procreate anymore, what's the point? Your grandma and grandpa, why are they wasting our time with their supposed marriage? You can put 2 90-year-olds in a dark room, what do you have afterward? Well, hopefully you still have the 2 90-year-olds. But what you won't have is a third person, so what's the point? Jesus hates that. Look how stupid of a point this is. There are all sorts of people that have, a soldier could be injured, come back, unable to bear children. Guess there's no point in marriage anymore. It's bad enough when this is a rando on Twitter. It's bad enough when this is deluding the minds of just religious people. This is a currently sitting elected official who has millions of constituents that are parts of a variety of different communities that he's casually demeaning to score like applause from the audience. Hopefully, just seeing the video causes you to see how insane this is and how we have to push back against this. The Republican Party has not advanced even as much as sometimes it might seem as they have. In any event, we are unfortunately running out of time. There was more video. I wish that we could have gotten into it. But thank you for joining us throughout this show. Thank you again to Nina Turner for joining us. If you haven't already, go to the community tab on our YouTube channel and you can vote in our Garbage People of the Week poll. That's available now. Jackson will be joining me tomorrow to throw away the political garbage. But until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than attorney at law, TYT contributor and author Adrienne Lawrence. And I'm going to mix up the bullpen today. Instead of a knockdown debate, we will bring one of my mentors. His name is Richard Rose. I would love for you to meet him. He's the president of the Atlanta NAACP and a remarkable human being. All right. Top story of the day. Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty. I believe he's a cold-blooded, calculated murderer. That's my opinion. But he was found not guilty in a court of law. Candace Owens, who supported Kyle Rittenhouse, cheered for him to be found not guilty, cannot simply leave well enough alone. Now, Candace Owens, she wants vengeance, even though she thinks she's won. Here it is.
I have to say, I'm elated that Kyle Rittenhouse is getting his life back and that he's not going to spend the rest of his life in prison. But a part of this feels bittersweet. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Like we're even having to go through this process, that we're even at the end of our seats wondering, is this guy going to get his life back? Or are people going to be so fearful of mob justice and of people coming after their families, they're just going to vote the way that the mainstream media and legacy media wants them to? It's sickening to me also because of his age. And I'm talking about when this actually took place. He was a 17-year-old kid. His life is never going to be the same, right? You don't come out of this and as the same person that you were going into this. This is a kid that was smeared as a domestic terrorist and a white supremacist, not just by media members, but by the now sitting president of the United States. Then he was campaigning for the president of the United States. This is problematic. So for me right now, I'm going to be completely honest. I want vengeance. Like I want to make sure that Kyle, until he's 92 years old, is suing every single person from LeBron James to Joe Biden to the people that are in Congress, Ayanna Pressley. This is not over for me. It doesn't feel like a win.
So let me get this right, Candace Owens. Kyle Rittenhouse, a kid, Trayvon Martin, a thug. I'm just trying to understand your linear logic here. So let me tell you what's happening, and I shared this yesterday on Indisputable. They want to make sure that Kyle Rittenhouse does not become Zimmerman. Zimmerman is a loser, but he was a loser before. They want to make sure they protect Kyle Rittenhouse, that they provide cover and protection, that they provide jobs for him. He has multiple job offers from members of Congress. What qualification? Oh, he killed 2 people who were protesting in a Black Lives Matter demonstration. That is the only qualification he needs, according to the members of Congress who have offered him a job. Think about how we have de-evolved in our political conversation. Now, I need to remind everyone that even though Kyle Rittenhouse has been found not guilty in a court of law, I take you to the words of the late Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory said, the system has you thinking legal means right, but remember, slavery was legal. What you will see now is a push from the conservative right to say, well, obviously Kyle Rittenhouse is justified because he was found not guilty. And the verdict itself becomes the measure of right and wrong, rather than your eyes and your own common damn sense. They want to rest their morality on these rulings. Now, these are the same people who tried to overthrow the United States government. They tried to stop a constitutionally mandated process in our democracy. They are anti-US Constitution. They are anti-rule following. But they want you to believe that turning over what we know as self-defense, habitation law, and castle doctrine in the United States of America is a win. It is a loss, not just for those on the left, but for everybody in this country. Adrienne, what are your thoughts here?
I think you perfectly summed things up in terms of the loss that our country is suffering, in part because of the law. As we saw in this case several times, the law was not written in a way that was clear enough, or the law is written in a way that benefits this white vigilantism that we just saw happen in Kenosha. And as a result, we have people who die. The thing about Candace Owens' statements here is that she's also trying to pretend that Rittenhouse was somehow the victim here when he took the lives of 2 men and injured another. Get out of here. We need to make sure that the man who continued to live doesn't suffer from all sorts of psychological and physical injuries. He was there as a medic looking to help people, whereas Rittenhouse was out there trying to get his gun off. And also the fact that Rittenhouse is now, I guess, out on these streets flagging around or throwing around legal terms like defamation and having people said he was a murderer and whatnot. First off, you a murderer. They may have said it was legally justified, but that still does not make you a murderer. And then also that whole white supremacy thing, it's kind of hard when he has photos up of himself throwing up those signs. So it's just, it's a matter of let's call it what it is. And let's not, as you said, rest on the thought that the legal system and the fact that he got an acquittal means he's innocent or that it was right.
Very well said. All right, let me bring you to another trial, another case. The defense claims in the McMichael Bryan case that Ahmaud Arbery was actually at least partially responsible for his own death after they chased him, trapped him, and brutally gunned him down while recording for kicks, okay? Now, the jury has officially started hearing these closing remarks, okay? This is an important part of the trial because it comes back to the selection of the jury as well. And remember, in this case, they were able to strike 11 out of the 12 remaining black jurors who were qualified from serving. You got one black jury member, okay? All right, so one of the defense attorneys had this to say, here it is.
Turning Ahmaud Arbery into a victim after the choices that he made does not reflect the reality of what brought Ahmaud Arbery to Satilla Shores in his khaki shorts with no socks to cover his long, dirty toenails.
The mother was so horrified by a defense attorney claiming that Ahmaud Arbery had long, dirty toenails. He's the victim of a murder. He was killed. The DA tried to cover it up. The police never mandated an explanation to justify the killing. The DA who covered it up has now been indicted. She's gonna go to the pokey soon. Long, dirty toenails. Let's put up a picture of the real dirty SOBs. The killers of Ahmaud Arbery, Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and William Roddy Bryant. The attorney that you just heard was the attorney for Greg McMichael. Greg McMichael drove the truck that boxed Arbery in. His son is the one who pulled the trigger. But very clearly, the dad said that he would have done it if his son did not. Arbery's mother had to leave the courtroom during that awful closing argument. Later, she made this statement.
When I heard prosecutor, the Hoax, she described Ahmaud as his long legs and his dirty, long toenails. That was just a beyond rude. Regardless of what kind of toenails he had, what size legs he had, that was still my son. And my son actually was running for his life in that description. I thought that was just flat out just rude.
The defense maintains that this was a citizen's arrest being made. Under Georgia law, the statute is clear. It has been changed since. But under Georgia law at that time, in order to enact a citizen's arrest, you must, one, witness a felony, And you must engage in the citizen arrest in proximity of you witnessing that felony directly. It must be direct observation for you to even make that claim. All right, they're trying to change the law here, and the law was changed right after this became national news. Adrienne, here's what I'm thinking here, and I want you to give me your best lawyer answer to it, okay? I'm hoping that as much as this defense is pissing me off, that it's pissing off other people on that jury too.
You know what, I would like to agree with you. I truly do hope so. The fact that they're blaming Ahmaud Arbery for his death by virtue of trying to use coded language like dirt underneath his nails or wearing khaki shorts, is drawing on the classism divide, but really kind of just fueling that idea of a dirty, rancid, violent black man, and all of this portrayal that they're trying to use to the purpose of getting a self-defense acquittal. And the thing is, it's not here underneath the law. There's just not evidence to support it. These men were out here hunting Ahmaud Arbery, assuming that, he must have been involved in some crime. It wasn't seen, it wasn't visualized in any way by them. If anything, the only thing that they saw was a black man, and they didn't want him in their neighborhood. And by virtue of this attorney's signaling about the dirtiness and the fact that he didn't fit in, so to speak, and wearing khaki shorts, that really tells you that these are just dog whistles, and I will be damned if the jury swallows and accepts this and acquits them.
But you see the strategy from the beginning now. There's a reason they wanted that majority white jury, virtually an all white jury. There's a reason they wanted to make a circus out of, I don't want black preachers here, right?
Yes.
In a way, making a summons to black preachers. And then when they get there, saying, we need a mistrial, or I object, right? Preserving it for the record on an appeal. And now the description, the closing argument meant to do one thing, create dog whistle. Hopefully they have somebody on the jury, according to the defense, that thinks like the McMichaels or Brian. And that becomes the problem inside of our courtrooms. It's not just the law, because you can really desensitize the jury to the reality of what happened.
Absolutely, trying to play on and stoke the jury's fears of the thought that, hey, if you convict these individuals, you won't be able to police black people freely. And that's something we see in a lot of these Karen videos. That's what that's about. It's policing black bodies and being able to get away with it, with the law essentially giving you the thumbs up and saying it's okay. So for these jurors who are predominantly white to actually have to go against that is the concern here. And that's why that defense attorney is trying to stoke those fears and to try to remind them of this dirty black man and the fear that comes up through that mentality of, we do not want this in our community.
Yeah, let me show everyone how immoral we have really become as a political society, okay? There's a vigilante, a driver, plows into a group of people protesting the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, okay? That's a no-no, that's wrong. Several people protesting the verdict were injured and could have been killed when a car drove into their demonstration in Connecticut. Let's put up a picture of the protesters, okay? About 15 to 20 protesters were blocking portions of a roadway, holding signs and chanting Saturday evening in Manchester when a black car with Massachusetts plates drove toward them, and organizers believe the man intended to hurt them. Several were injured. The protesters said they were allowing vehicles to pass during green lights. So when there was a red light, they got in the street, they made their demonstration, they made their protest. Now, even if they blocked traffic, I'm not saying they did, but even if they did, protest is not protest unless it makes somebody feel uncomfortable. It is supposed to inconvenience you somewhere. There's supposed to be some inconvenience connected to a real protest. Now, there was a time when we actually held life above everything else. Now, the Republicans, those on the Christian right, they don't give a damn about these protesters. They're creating laws that will basically give immunity to individuals who kill protesters who are blocking the street. What happened to being pro-life? What happened to duty to retreat if you can do so safely, right? What happened to these rules and these statutes and these doctrines that we had in our American lexicon of law that said we value life above these other dynamics that may make you uncomfortable? He was angry, said Miss Courier, Black Lives Matter organizer from Black Lives Matter, age 60. It looked like he was looking for a reason and he found one. You could tell in his face, the passenger was screaming bloody murder. Courier said about 6 people were struck by the car and 4 of them injured, including a man whose foot was run over and a 60-year-old woman who was struck head on. Police are investigating the incident, but declined to offer any specifics about a possible suspect or his motives. But Courier said the incident highlights the issues involving the Rittenhouse trial. This is nothing more than another example of people deputizing themselves against others to police against their own politics and views. Adrienne, there was a time when something like this would happen. People on the left and the right of the political aisle would universally denounce it and say that is not the kind of nation we are. What in the hell happened?
Well, I think people were allowed to essentially be who they are, because this is indeed truly an example of people deputizing themselves against individuals exercising their First Amendment right to protest. And these self-deployed individuals are dangerous out here. They're not only upholding or essentially really going against the letter of the Constitution, but they're also undermining any sense of democracy by trying to silence voices that are speaking out primarily against white supremacy. And the Rittenhouse verdict, it really did the same thing, kind of just in the larger framework as the George Zimmerman verdict. It really just emboldened these individuals to use lethal force against those who challenge white supremacy. And as a result of that, we are seeing members of Congress, many politicians out there willing to stand with them. And so we're truly just seeing who they really are.
Yeah, and rulings like this, laws like Stand Your Ground, they increase the number of justifiable homicides. You go to Texas, when Texas first passed their Stand Your Ground law, justifiable homicides increased by 600 dead bodies that year. This is a real cause and effect relationship as it relates to life and liberty in this country. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
While the Young Turks, the Friday show is gonna be awesome. We're gonna help us over here. Drop it. We became the first ever daily online web television show.
No, the Constitution is the very core of America. The fact that we don't spy on American citizens, that we get a warrant, that we go to a judge, that we have a procedure, that we have due process, that is America.
On top of that, they go, why don't they just stay at their own schools? You gotta realize something. These schools suck. They want people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You ain't got no straps, you ain't got no boots.
He lit these fires in trash bins all around town out of frustration.
99th most viewed channel today on YouTube.
The Shorties Award.
Best web host.
We passed 1 billion views. Voice Award winner, news and information channel, The Young Turks. Oh, another Webby.
The Young Turks.
Can I curse? Yeah! For those of you watching on live stream, yes, we have adopted a pet iguana that showed up at our door.
The haunted version in the dark with our silhouettes.
Now let's get to the best line of the debate. And it was definitely the one against police. I told you we were coming.
Can you talk about it when it becomes a problem? Our lack of gun control is a problem.
Nonsense BS story is hurting that cause, and they need to wake up and recognize that they are being had by these people.
Biggest gang in America. Question is, how do we make sure that we blame the person who is dead? What kind of democracy is that?
We should never forget that the most powerful people in the world exploited the greatest tragedy in American history to go to war in a country that had a lot of oil.
Rolling thunder. That's what this show is.
Never in my life did I think I would like to see a dictator. But if there's going to be one, I want it to be Trump.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Where's the line? We've crossed every line you can imagine.
We are a socialist country. It's socialism for the rich.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
You don't have to know the truth, just believe what they tell you.
There is no bounds to their monstrous hypocrisy. Tick-tock. I think we're gonna win the Senate in 2020. And I think we're gonna have the House, and I think we're gonna have the presidency. Tick-tock. And in 2020, we're going to clean your clock, and we're gonna run you out of town, and we're gonna have an actual democracy in this country.
November of 2020 could also be potentially the greatest day of our lives. Let us whisper of a dream.
Back to back that I like.
Say hi to the camera.
I don't like this.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Big deal today. Okay, we're doing 9 days of impact, TYT, 9 days of impact. Today is day 2. Day 2, 9 days of impact. All right, here's how you can make an impact. The Atlanta NAACP, where I'm a member, okay, card carrying member. And that's rare for me. I typically do not join organizations because sometimes I have to put my foot up their ass. And so I don't join everybody. But I joined the Atlanta NAACP because I highly respect the progressive leadership of a gentleman named Richard Rose, who will be on the show later today. Now, Richard Rose, he has been a champion for affordable housing, equity, minimum wage increases, and he has also had some beef with the national NAACP because of his real progressive policies. That's called a champion to me, okay? So here's what can happen today. $2 donated to the Atlanta NAACP chapter for everyone who purchases anything from the Indisputable collection, all right? Help disrupt inequality and defeat racism in this country. Here's what you can do, because we got our Wish Karen Wood shirts, we got our mugs, we have a lot of stuff, all right? We got great merchandise. Go to shoptyt.com, shoptyt.com right now. You make that purchase, an automatic contribution will go directly to the Atlanta NAACP, okay? They do great work. Also, don't forget about the podcast. Indisputable is on podcast, okay? Go ahead, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts. Search for Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Click follow and rate us with 5 stars. If you like the programming, as I said before, some lame gave me 1 star. So we have to come out with vengeance. Also, deep dive next, right after Indisputable, the big homie, Jordan Yule. All right, the guest, Taylor Lorenz, a New York Times reporter covering tech culture and online creators. And it's going to be pretty cool. All right, make sure you tune in. Let me read some of these amazing comments. TOT member, Colorado Blue Blazer regular. Hey, Candace, know who else is never going to be the same? The 2 men he murdered and the 3rd who was crippled for life. Hope she gets the opportunity to find out how her white friends really, truly feel about her. Yep. Just Be Anti-Racist says, it is not lost on me or some of the jurors in this case that it was the white woman making Arbery the instigator in his own murder. She conveyed the message that Mr. Arbery was dangerous, a dangerous black man, and that the white women need to be protected from these black men. The underlying message being that it is the white man protecting their vulnerable white women, disgusting and sick. I'm glad you see that. I just hope the jury sees it as well, okay? All right, Forbesilla says, new jury with 11 black jurors now. Yep. Taylor Hackner, the scary black man archetype is the worst, yep. Jeffrey Richey Dragon, I think I'm going to volunteer to watch for cars at all future protests I'm involved with. Looks like we need somebody to do that, right? That's what's happening. Twitch, Sauce240 says, you mean you can't just murder people and go with your life as usual? I'm shocked. Yeah. Fascist killer. So how is it that MSNBC, CNN did not talk about this, but they talk about the guy running over 30 people in Wisconsin? Boom. That's why you get your news here, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Are you recording? Are you recording me? Are you recording? Do you have permission to record me? Do you have permission to record me? Do you have permission to record me? Do you have permission to record me?
Well, you don't have permission to smack people.
I don't care. She don't have permission to record me. That's okay. I already have a lawsuit.
I already have a lawsuit. Man. You know, I've never been so excited to hear like a Southern white guy until I heard him say, and nobody gave you permission to hit her either. It looked as if the white police officers who obviously were watching this, they were ready. You know why? Because regardless of race, if you're a cop, by this point in the game, you understand the reality of Karenicity now. You know when it's about to pop off. I mean, the reaction was very swift. They were already present, and it is what it is. Let's be very clear about this situation. It is not lost on me that this particular Karen carries a Trump flag, okay? And don't let that part be lost on you either. And her privilege says to her that not only can she not be recorded, she can commit a criminal act and be justified in physically assaulting a person who is recording. Obviously, in front of the police. Adrienne, what are your thoughts?
Well, I definitely think that this is a Karen in full display in action. The fact that she thinks it's acceptable for her to engage in physical contact with another for filming her in what is arguably to some extent a public place, quasi-public at least. And the fact that there are plenty of signs in airports that generally say that filming engages on the premises and thus be prepared. So there was nothing wrong with that woman was doing in terms of filming her. But by virtue of the fact that this Karen thought it was okay to slap the phone out of her hand, you know, I am happy that TSA or whoever the law enforcement there was there and that they acted swiftly, because who knows what this woman would have done, because she clearly thinks she's entitled to do whatever she damn well pleases.
And you got to think about the confidence of this Karen. Literally, an airport is basically a police precinct. Let's be very clear about it. Basically, if you're inside of an airport, you're at a police precinct, it's a cop everywhere. And if they're not a cop, they're damn near a cop. They have arrest powers all over that airport. So this is what she's willing to do with the police standing right next to her. Imagine what a person like this would do if she thought she was away from everybody.
Imagine if she was on that plane. How wild she was acting just there in the airport. Imagine what she would have done on that plane. If anything, her antics saved lives, so they could go ahead and prevent her from getting on a flight. Because she's a piece of work.
Yeah, with a damn Trump flag. Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I got a really serious story here. Okay, so earlier this morning, a woman named Karen from Florida called my cell phone. She called my cell phone. She also texted me. I don't know how she got my number. I did answer the phone during one of my commercial breaks on my radio show this morning, and she introduced herself as Karen from Florida. She then proceeded to tell me how I was wrong for using the word Karen in my I Wish a Karen Would segments. I said, have a good day, and I hung up the phone on her. I don't know how she got my cell number, don't care. And then she calls my radio show. And then she emails corporate, she emails me, she's trying to get me fired. Now, obviously, she's not gonna get me fired. I want you to hear this Karenicity exchange. Here it is.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off. I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
We got Karen in Florida on the line. Karen, good day, welcome.
A few minutes ago about, I wish you, Karen, when I called about your video.
No, it's not a video.
On your YouTube channel?
No, it's not a YouTube channel. It's a television show. We break out the segments on YouTube.
Okay, but why would you go with the whole Karen thing? That is so contrary to, it seems like the man you're trying to be.
No, the man I am. So
Christian.
Let me ask you this. Is your name Karen?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you're offended that on my TV show, I have a segment called I Wish a Karen Would, correct?
Yes.
Are you a Karen in real life?
I've been Karen since the day I was born.
No, but are you a Karen
What is a Karen?
Let me explain to you.
Imagine
You asked
Jesus
me a question.
were in the room with us.
You asked me a question,
Imagine
madam.
Jesus were in the room with us.
Imagine if Jesus was in the room.
You're asking me to explain what a Karen is?
Madam, you're being a Karen at the moment. So I will explain to you because you did pose the question, what is a Karen?
Why are you going
have
along
a good
with
day,
this
ma'am.
name?
Goodbye. You believe in white Jesus, I do not. See, that's Karenicity right there. You asked me a question, you called my show, you posed a question to me, and then you overtalk me. Karenicity. I wish a Karen would. And I'm going to do, hell, just because you called my radio show today, I'm going to do 2 segments and 2 different Karens on my TV show today. Tune in, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Comcast, Xfinity. She called back? Go ahead, bring it through. Deal with this. Karen, are you there?
Yes.
Now, Karen, you posed a question to me, Karen.
You hung up on me, remember?
Question.
So
you posed a question to me.
I started off with the question, and then you asked me a question.
Have a good day.
You answer my.
All right, that's it. I appreciate you calling the show, though. But isn't it amazing? Ma'am, you're a Karen. You're not just a Karen in name. If you were just named Karen, I got friends whose names are Karen. One of my best friends, Karen Greer, her name is Karen. She's not offended by Wish a Karen Would. You know why she's not offended by Wish a Karen Would? Because she's not a Karen. So this particular Karen called my cell phone multiple times, sent me text messages, and then after I hung up on the radio show, she proceeded to call the radio show multiple times, and then she did this. All right, it ain't over, y'all. Then she did this. Afterwards, she sent an email in which it read, let's put up the email. On your YouTube channel, you titled the video of the white student slapping the black substitute, I wish a Karen would. This is correct, I did. You seem like a smart man. I actually am a smart man. And it seems like you love God. I don't love white Jesus because he's fictional. Why would you make fun of someone named Karen? Don't you know that's wrong? How can you be so socially aware and just choose a random name a person's real name. Anyway, I hope you talk to God and realize it's just not nice. Now, let me explain this to everyone, okay? Because there are some people who get really bent out of shape about the word Karen. We've had a long history of providing a particular pejorative to behavior. As a matter of fact, a meddlesome person during the antebellum era, that's 1815 to 1861, they used to call them Miss Ann. Miss Ann, that was the Karen back then. And then in the early 1990s, it was Becky. As late as 2018, before Karen caught on, it was a matching of particular names such as Barbecue, Becky, Cornerstone Carolina, even Permit Patty. Yes, and Ken and Chad are added to that as well. I didn't start it, Karen from Florida. It was here. I use it, I utilize it, maybe even popularized it, but it's here. Okay, it's more. Then she tagged me on Twitter. She's called my cell phone, text me, called my job, send me emails, tag me on Twitter. Here's the Twitter post. This is K. Crumel on Twitter. Rashad Richey, when you Karen bash, I would appreciate being on your show in Atlanta or on YouTube. My laptop has a camera. Jesus will be watching and listening to me. Feel free to contact me. I mean, Karen, listen, there are other ways to go about getting in touch with me, okay? All right, if you just wanted some attention from me, you could have inboxed me and said, hey, can you respond to my email? All right? So she's tagged me on social media, tags me on Twitter. She wants to be on the show now. Then she does this. She emails my radio station, she emails TYT, and she says, in part, I contacted Rashad Richey via phone regarding his YouTube show and the title of a video called I Wish a Karen Would. Well, he hung up on me, so I started listening to his show on WAOK. Well, I found the call in number and called in. And Mr. Richey seriously started Karen bashing me. My gosh, on your station. It gets deeper. She then goes on to say, Karenism, ? And that he would put my call back up on YouTube, which I said, I'm gonna put this on YouTube, and I did. All right, I'm a man of my word. I'll be watching at 2:30 today. Come back to me. Hey, Karen. Okay. She goes on to say, I would be more than happy to speak to Mr. Richey live and demand his apology. Come back to me. I'm not apologizing for a damn thing, okay? Mr. Richey, you are a fool and you misrepresent all people of Atlanta. Well, I got some cats on Glenwood that would disagree. My mother and father married in Atlanta and I have had family there all my life. Shame on you. I look forward to your response. Well, damn it, I just gave it to you. Adrienne, thoughts?
Well, I think you are a lot more patient than I am, because there's no way in the world I let anybody harass me the way that this woman has chosen to harass you. So God bless you, because as far as I'm concerned, her rope would be very short, because that's completely unacceptable. Blowing up your personal cell, calling your workplace, so on and so forth. You know, the fact is that if this is the time this woman can allocate to coming after you because you are essentially addressing a social construct that has been created to essentially define a certain type of behavior, and that's her biggest problem in life, then she is just radiating her privilege and using her privilege and free time to harass you. And so I just wish her the best, and I hope that she can use her Christian attitude and her Christian spirit to direct her energy elsewhere.
Very well said. And let me say this for the record. We highlight Karenicity as a behavioral construct here because Karenism is dangerous. It has been weaponized against people. Now, we've highlighted Karens of colors on the show as well. But we also know that there are white women who have weaponized their whiteness. We have seen that too. All of it is true. So when this particular Karen says that this is something that's racist, I would dare encourage her to research where it comes from, because your beef is not with me. Your beef is with the original Karen who started this madness. All right, We got more on the other side. Is indisputable. Stick and stay.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
Did you know that more than 20% of the world's oxygen comes from the Amazon? Why? Because of trees. I know what you're thinking. Of course. So what do we want to do? We want to plant more trees so we can save the climate. It's quite literal. So that's what leads to our new partner, Plant Your Change. Love it. It's so easy. What they do is you take the credit or debit cards you already have and you plug it into the system. And if you so choose, you get to round up every purchase to the nearest dollar and they plant a tree for you, okay? Now you could also choose if you wanna do it on only certain kinds of purchases or only so often, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But literally every cent makes a difference here. It's Plant Your Change. And if you wanna know more information, just go to tyt.com/trees. Let's go save the planet together.
Now, top. No. No. No.
Today, a terrible day for the internet, a terrible day for America. The internet as we know it is not going to exist anymore.
A real dark day for information and yet another way that they're bleeding out the democracy.
We're now going to have these gatekeepers of information deciding what we can and can't see, and that's what scares me the most.
Whether you're conservative or progressive or anywhere in the middle, this is the one thing we should all agree to. Protect the internet, because the establishment is coming for it. Don't let them destroy the internet.
All right, welcome back. Okay, just about the Karen thing, one more time. There's a whole movie named Karen. I don't understand. If you're really upset about the terminology caring as it relates to behavior unbecoming, then you may want to focus your energy to cinema, because Becky never got this kind of love. Becky never got a movie named after her. There's a whole movie called Karen. Check it out. It is scary. Okay. All right. I Am Sock. Let's go to some of these comments. I Am Sock says, you come for the doc, you best not miss. Yep. Eric the Red, the confidence is strong with this one. Walking right up to the doc himself and trying to Karen him on his own radio show. Just wow. Yeah. Matthew, she was pulling a Karen while complaining about you using the term Karen, while her name is Karen. I don't know what just happened. I think we've just had a shift in the multidimensional megaverse or something. Something has happened here. All right, super chat. Barrel age millennial. If we need someone watching for runaway lunatics in cars, then what happens when someone shoots a driver running over protesters? A self-defense case? Latif, AKA, I think this is Colossus Dragon. Squad goals manifested, priceless Dr. Rashad. Thank you for that, brother. My pleasure. Twitch, fascist killer. I love the quick retribution. Well, I made a promise and I keep my word. Progressive, J Log. Hashtag hold that Karen accountable. Yep. Filinero. Karens are grievance warriors. MAGA is designed to appeal to grievance warriors, so it's no surprise when Karens wear Trump paraphernalia. It's not a surprise at all. All right. Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse got away with murder. He says he's not a racist. Where does he go? To the safe haven for all things racist, Fox News. So he goes on Fox News and he sits down with Tucker Carlson. All right. Tucker Carlson says that Kyle Rittenhouse should sue anyone who ever said anything bad about him, all the way up to the president of the United States. Here it is.
What did you make of the president of the United States calling you a white supremacist? That's not a small thing to be called that.
No, it's actual malice, defaming my character for him to say something like that. It's actually quite hysterical how nobody can go back and look at the facts of the case. He crossed state lines, false. He's a white supremacist, false. None of that is true. And the lies that they can just get away with spreading is just sickening, and it's a disgrace to this country.
I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of people watching have reached the same conclusion, and they would like to see you help make this better by holding some of these liars to account. Do you plan to do that?
I have really good lawyers who are taking care of that right now. So I'm hoping one day there will be accountability for their actions that they did.
Okay, so you're intent on you're not going to let that go.
Like I said, really good lawyers are handling that.
Yeah.
What in the hell is going on? I mean, they want to make sure Kyle Rittenhouse gets this money. I mean, justice. He's trained. He has been coached on what to say. That interview, staged, scripted, okay? Please believe that. Now, right after he says, really good lawyers are handling that, Kyle actually looks off camera. Who do you think he's looking at? He's looking at his coach, his lawyer. Okay. Is that a victim of the system, or is that just a guy who smells a payday? Now, they're talking about suing Joe Biden, all right? Honestly, I'm not really thrilled by the leadership of Joe Biden. But when I looked at what they're saying they will sue Joe Biden for, it doesn't fit. And I'm glad I got an attorney on the show to break this down. Did Joe Biden actually call Rittenhouse a white supremacist? Here's the so-called evidence they have against Joe Biden. It's a video that was tweeted on September 30th in 2020. Here it is.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Do you want to call them
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
What would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Let me give you more background here. Kyle Rittenhouse, obviously not even mentioned in this video. He is shown in one tiny portion of that video, okay? And here's the tweet that went along with that video. No mention of Kyle Rittenhouse either. Here's the tweet. Joe Biden says, there's no other way to put it. The president of the United States refused to disavow white supremacists on the debate stage last night. Very true statement. If Biden wanted to show Kyle Rittenhouse engaging in white supremacy, he could have shown this photo of Kyle Rittenhouse flashing a white power sign. Where is it? We have it. There it is. Between interview segments, Tucker acted like Kyle's PR representative, repeating how sweet Kyle Rittenhouse is.
During the course of our long conversation, Kyle Rittenhouse struck us as bright, decent, sincere, dutiful, and hardworking. Exactly the kind of person you'd want many more of in your country. What a sweet kid. I think that comes through loud and clear. Playing hearts in jail. One of the very few people in downtown Kenosha that night who was there for the right reasons. Imagine putting that kid in jail.
Here's what I imagine. I imagine the truth of what he said days before he killed protesters in Kenosha. Here's what he said that the jurors were not allowed to listen to because of Judge Schroeder. Here it is.
Bro, I wish I had my all right, start shooting rounds at them.
I wish I had my gun, my weapon, my AR. I would start shooting rounds at them. That would be murder, Kyle. That would be murder. It goes to state of mind. Now, Adrienne, what all do you see here?
In terms of this whole purported defamation claim against Joe Biden, I don't think it has legs. Because first off, what Joe Biden tweeted was that that former President Trump would not essentially disavow white supremacists. And that's exactly what happened on that stage there. And the fact that Rittenhouse was in that video, that doesn't necessarily mean he indicated Rittenhouse. And even the implication of it, as you noted, Rittenhouse has thrown up white supremacy signs. So I don't necessarily think it would be in his best interest to go ahead and sue Joe Biden for defamation. But also, we do have to bear in mind that Wisconsin just gave him an acquittal. And also in civil trials in Wisconsin, you only need about 5/6 of the jury in civil trials to actually get a standing verdict. Yep. So, hey, you never know what he may do, especially now that he's fully emboldened with Tucker Carlson and the rest of the Fox News brigade.
Yeah, and you see they're trying to push this guy to serve their conservative agenda. It's going to be interesting to see what Kyle Rittenhouse does. All right, really insane story. A Maryland police officer convicted of rape. Convicted of rape. He didn't plead to it. He actually got convicted of rape. Has been placed on house arrest to serve out his sentence. Baltimore County, Maryland police officer convicted of raping a woman and assaulting another was sentenced to home detention after a judge found that there was no, and I quote, psychological injury in one of the cases, prosecutors said Monday. Baltimore County Circuit Judge Keith Truffer suspended all but 4 years of a 15-year prison term and ordered the officer, Anthony Westerman, to serve it at home. So let me explain what that means. That means he got convicted, he got 15 years in prison. The judge, who's an elected judge, by the way, and a hardcore Republican, this judge has the authority to do what's called a suspended sentence, where they can say, yes, 15 years, I'm going to suspend this. And he suspended just enough for the cop to qualify to legally serve the rest of the sentence at home after raping, being convicted of rape. Here's the judge. That is the so-called Honorable Keith R. Truffer. Here's the rapist. Not alleged, because he's been convicted of it. He's the rapist, Anthony Westerman. In a statement to NBC News, Baltimore County State's Attorney Scott Schellenberger said the sentence was, and I quote, not appropriate. You don't say. For a police officer who should know as well or better than others the reprehensibility of such an act. I fear this could cause rape victims to hesitate to report their crimes if they do not feel like they will get justice, he said. Westerman, who had pleaded not guilty to charges of second-degree rape, second-degree assault, and other crimes, was convicted in August. He was arrested in 2019. Understand the background here. He was arrested in 2019. 2 women accused him of rape. In one case from 2017, a woman said that after she drank too much, Westerman offered to arrange an Uber ride home. She told authorities she passed out and awoke to him raping her at his house. He was acquitted on the second rape, the Baltimore Sun reported, and convicted of forcibly kissing a third woman. This guy's serial, okay? Prosecutors had asked that Westerman serve 5 to 10 years in prison, but received a lighter sentence after the judge removed a count of second-degree rape and found that the victim had not suffered psychological injury. Damn, understand how deep this goes. In a statement to WBAL, prosecutors challenged the finding, arguing that the judge himself had actually described what happened to the women, or to that particular woman, as maybe the most traumatic moment in her life, and pointing out that she had been to therapy. But the judge dismisses that element of the crime and says no psychological injury took place, contradicting himself on the stand. It was not immediately clear whether Westerman, I get this, you would expect this guy's fired, right? Right? I mean, you're convicted of rape, you gotta go. It was not immediately clear whether Westerman, who joined the Baltimore County Police Department in 2013, is still a cop. He was suspended without pay after he was charged. WBAL, citing the department, reported Monday that he had been fired. Thompson said he was still only suspended. A police spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for comment about if the man is still employed as a cop, being a convicted rapist. Adrienne, he's convicted of rape. Listen, how in the hell is it that HR at the police department can't come out and say, yep, he's fired. He's convicted of rape.
Because he probably isn't necessarily. The fact is that our system is built to prop up these individuals essentially in this position now to enable him to rape and victimize others. And now it sounds like they are continuing to provide him with some sort of employment. The fact is that the judge here, every aspect of the system essentially was helping this person avoid accountability. And you know what? It kind of also signals to me that the victims are probably from marginalized groups of some sort.
Yep.
The fact that the system did not care enough to get them actual justice, but to protect this white male officer, no.
Yep.
This is the system.
And this is what we talk about when we say rape culture, this protection of rapists. This is what we talk about when we discuss critical race theory, or the intersection of race bias and how it plays out in institutional norms. It is all combined here. And what does it equal? Injustice for victims. That's what it equals. All right, on a lighter note, the city of Atlanta is trying to do something very unique. 300 residents will receive universal basic income, okay? They will receive an income for 1 year based on a pilot program, okay? Hundreds of Atlanta residents are expected to receive guaranteed income for an entire year following the approval of a new pilot program. The Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who is not running for re-election, which really creates opportunity for her to do things like this. She's not running for re-election. She pushed to establish a Mayors for a Guaranteed Income pilot program As revealed in a recent press release, the Income Mobility Program for Atlanta Community Transformation has been titled Impact. The program is dedicated to serving 300 Atlanta residents with monthly payments. The residents must be at least 18 years old, as well as live below 200% of the federal poverty line. Participants within the program will be awarded $500 per month in guaranteed income for up to the full 12 months during the pilot period. In order to launch the program, the city of Atlanta will donate $2 million to a local nonprofit. The organization is the Urban League of Great Atlanta, great organization. And the league will also receive an additional $500,000 from the Mayors for a Guaranteed Income organization. Now, some people are saying, oh my goodness, look at that handout. Now remember, the issue is addressing poverty. Okay, that's the issue. When you have money, you can actually afford to live, right? It creates an ecosystem in the economy. You can pay for things, taxes, revenue, things are building, right? So I want to remind everyone who may be adversarial to something like this, don't come around me quoting Dr. King anymore. If you're 100% against this, don't you dare come around me quoting Dr. King another time, okay? Because I will remind you of something. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was for universal basic income. Here it is. Dr. King laid out the case for the guaranteed income in his final book, 1967's Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? Washington's previous efforts to fight poverty, he concluded, had been piecemeal and pigmy. The government believed it could lift up the poor by attacking the root causes of their impoverishment one by one. By providing better housing, better education, and better support for families. But, this is in his book, these efforts had been too small and too disorganized. Moreover, he wrote, the programs of the past all have another common failing. They are indirect. Each seeks to solve poverty by first solving something else. This is a more direct approach, okay? Adrienne, what are your thoughts?
Sorry about there. I think I was stuck on mute. But what I can tell you is definitely, I think this is the right thing to do. The fact is that you have people in Atlanta who are paying taxes, who are there supporting the community, and should be paid back to them. You know, Atlanta is one of the top 10 US cities with the highest economic output. That's about like 371 billion. And that's on par with Ireland, Taiwan, a lot of other nations. So there's a lot of money to go around. And so maybe the government should actually do what it's supposed to do, which is take care of the people.
There you go. And Atlanta has a lot of revenue, and they brag about how much revenue they have every single election cycle, all right? Thank you, Adrienne. Always a pleasure. How can people follow you? Check out your book, all of that good stuff.
All right, well, if you want to get a book, definitely check out Staying in the Game, Playbook for Beating Workplace Sexual Harassment. It is award-winning and also on sale right now on Amazon. And it's also in the TYT store, so you want to grab a copy. It's great for giving as gifts, especially to individuals out there who are not down to play the traditional workplace game. And then also you can follow me on Instagram at Adrienne Lawrence, Twitter at Adrienne Law, and also head over to Rebel HQ where you can catch my videos for Overruled. Thanks so much.
Awesome, good stuff. Thank you as always. We got more on the other side. The Bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
So a lot of progressive office holders are doing something fun. I like fun. They're doing the last 2 years in 2 minutes. Okay, we're gonna try it here. First, I wanna let you guys know about the years before that. Hey, remember we started the Just Democrats here on the Young Turks. It was officially launched on our air, basically by you guys. And then we featured AOC, we featured Cori Bush, and Ro Khanna became the first ever Just Democrat incumbent, all on the Young Turks. Now, the last 2 years have been a spectacular follow-up to that. So let's put the 2 minutes on the clock and do this. Young Turks got to start back in 2002, and I think we've been an important part of the progressive movement ever since. What we mainly do is amplify the progressive voice and candidates out there, and I think we've done a pretty good job. Right now, we're currently #1 most engaged news politics network online, beating CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC, all of them. We're #1 in total minutes watched. That means not only the number of people watching, but how long they watch. We just crossed 20 million followers and 500 million monthly views. Now, why? That's because actually the country's progressive. It's 2/3 progressive. And you guys have allowed us to be your voice, and we're incredibly thankful for that. So what did we do with that voice? Well, let's look at 2019. We went all over the country talking to you guys and the candidates. So we were in Miami, we were in Detroit, we were in Houston, and we were in Iowa. In fact, we were all over Iowa. You guys were all over Iowa, and all of the candidates saw you guys. We had wonderful people speaking, like the one and only Nina Turner at our rallies. Bernie Sanders stopped by, Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren. We interviewed almost everyone on the campaign trail, with the exception of Biden and Buttigieg. And we held them accountable. We even did a progressive economic pledge, and so many wonderful people signed on to that. Bernie Sanders, Warren, Marianne Williamson, AOC, the entire squad, Justice Democrats, and so many others. Now, on top of all that, we started a show called The Conversation, where we featured so many progressive thinkers, writers, and candidates. And one of the candidates we featured in 2019 was Jamal Bowman. Here comes Jamal Bowman. Then we had an amazing 2020. We hired a climate reporter. Damage Report passed 500,000 subscribers. Young Turks passed 5 million subscribers. We're getting the message out to more and more people. Bernie Sanders comes on in the heat of the primary. He comes on after the election to say what we're going to do for the future. And then Marie Newman wins. Jamal Bowman wins. Cori Bush wins. And then just when you thought it couldn't get any better, here comes Nina Turner. Hello, somebody. And she's running for Congress, and she comes on the Young Turks first. On election week, we had nearly 2 million hours of viewing. We're #1 destination for progressives. You made all that happen. This is amazing, and thank you for those 2 years. What, I went past 2 minutes? Of course!
Viewers had asked for an interview with the TYT Lizard. Mr. Lizard. Oh, you changed colors today. Nice. I don't even know how you feel about us. Do you even like us?
Well, you guys made me this awesome house, so I'm kind of in your debt. I was found outside on the street, and you gave me a home. Granted, it was a really crappy home for a while, but then through the power of fundraising, I became a person who has a multi-level Trump-style mansion.
You do. By the way, you never looked better, man. Normally, you're just green or just brown, but today you're in mid-lizard, right?
I'm not very smart. I'm a lizard, so I don't know how the science works. I guess this is just my mood. It's not every day that thresholds like this are broken. I'm just so excited. I can't contain my pigmentation.
And now you're showing it off.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never seen the lizard like this before.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Let me read some of these comments. Before I do that, remember TYT, 9 days of impact. This is day 2. Day 2, you can be part of the impact machine. $2 will be donated to the Atlanta branch of the NAACP for every purchase made from the Indisputable collection today. Let's put up that beautiful stuff. T-shirts, I wish a Karen would, mugs, we got all of that, all right? We got all that great stuff for you to purchase today. And I know many of you tagged me on social media. You got your Wish a Karen Wood shirts. I see the students all throughout the country with their I Wish a Karen Wood t-shirts from the show. Beautiful stuff. Get one for your friend. If you don't get an I Wish a Karen Wood shirt for your friend, you're not being a good friend, okay? I want you to be a great friend. Make sure you get another one, all right? Goes to a worthy cause. Go to shoptyt.com, shoptyt.com. indisputable.com. Don't forget, we are also on podcast, all right? Indisputable is on podcast. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast from. Search for Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Click follow, rate us 5 stars if you like the programming. Rate us 5 stars because some lame gave me 1. All right, messed up my perfect record over there. Deep Dive is next, right after Indisputable. That's a Twitch exclusive, the big homie Jordan Yule. Twitch.tv/TYT. Make it happen, all right? Let me read some of the comments. TYT member, Colorado Blue Blazer regular says, hey Rittenhouse, you have no character to defame. Boom. Mickey C, the silver hat dragon. Kyle is a racist, white supremacist, loves to kill, has no discernment as to who is a victim or perpetrator, has no self-control. He'll soon be in the police academy since he ticks all the boxes. He's gonna be in Congress. He's been offered multiple jobs to be a congressional aide, an intern, so he may be in Congress soon. VFRO says Kyle Rittenhouse had blood-covered hands, and not even the best lawyer in the world will be able to wash away that blood. Tyler Hackner, privilege is power. Twitch, Doormat9_scratch says, he definitely will make some money, but the potential civil suit penalty is far greater. This is grooming and damage control in tandem. All right. Ben Velasquez 1, can there be a democracy check? The judges and justice system, the system is rotten. He has to be in jail. Yeah. Queen Mother Dragon, can the judge's decision be overturned? That gets real entangled when you talk about a sentence from a judge. Can a judicial sentence be amended? The short answer is yes. There is such things as amendments to a sentencing, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. All right, we're gonna change the flavor today. In the Bullpen, I do not have a debate guest as normal. I have a dear friend of mine and mentor, president of the Atlanta NAACP, and your day of impact, anything you purchase from Indisputable, a portion of that goes directly to the Atlanta NAACP. Mr. Richard Rose, chapter president, good day, sir, welcome.
Good afternoon, how you doing, Dr. Richey?
I'm doing quite well, man. Years ago, brother, I remember when you took over the Atlanta branch of the NAACP. This was before I started doing any television broadcasting, and you came on my show. I just wanted to size you up, brother, that's all. Because normally I would be the guy who would at times support the NAACP, and at other times I had to put my foot up their rear end. So I decided not to join. I would be supportive, but I told you this, right? I told you first time we met, I said I'm not going to join because I may have to put my foot up your ass one day. Right. And it would look awkward if I'm a member of the organization. And you respected it. And then I looked at your leadership. I looked at what you did for us traveling to other places to fight racism, not only inside of Atlanta, but outside of Atlanta. I saw you engage with the college campuses in Atlanta, especially the HBCUs, like I had never seen before. I saw you take progressive stances as it relates to affordable housing, equal pay for equal work, policies that impact everyday people right here in America. You did all of that, right? And sometimes contrary to some of the movement happening nationally, you stood firm. Now, I decided then to join the Atlanta NAACP. And I've been a member ever since, man. So I hope I haven't given you too much trouble while I've been a member of your organization.
Man, you've been a great member. We need about 2,000 more just like you who are willing to speak out. We'll take the criticism. We try to be on the right side of issues. I think we're pretty successful in that. And it comes from, I'm really a life member. I joined at the age of 13 in youth council in Memphis. And so I've been a part of the NAACP for a long, long time. And I know what the issues are in the community. I've worked in them. I'm a practicing certified public accountant, so I practice in the community. I worked at the New Orleans Housing Authority for a year. So I understand housing affordability and public housing and lack of housing. And so it's easy for me. I'm grateful for the support folks like you and my executive team, my members, who support the initiative that we start.
I want to ask you this because I don't know when it happened for you, but I think it happens for every leader. Like it may be gradual or sometimes it's a hard shift. But there was something in your leadership journey that caused you to be different than some others who are either just 100% on the left trying to protect people just because they are left leaning or just because they happen to be Democrats. You decided to be so issues based that at times, based on issues, it put you at odds with Democrats. And some of these Democrats you probably wanted to like or wanted to be connected to because of their leadership and status in the community. But you made a decision. When did that start for you?
Well, I have to give credit to my mom and my grandmother where I grew up. My first face-to-face confrontation with racism was at a 9-year-old when I asked my mother if we could go to the zoo on the weekend. And she informed me that no, in Memphis, Negroes could not go to the zoo except on Thursday. And so the conversations after that and the other conversations around civil rights in the 50s and 60s and 70s has formed my perspective along with my profession as an analyst. I'm certified, but I do numbers. I look at the issues, and I know how those issues have affected the community. So I think it's not something that I did. It's something that has evolved from where I came from and my HBCU background. Yeah. So I think that's the real answer.
I think it's very important for the viewers to understand how pivotal you were to making sure Georgia had a massive turnout in the midterm elections, in the presidential cycle, excuse me. And you have worked with a coalition, right? A coalition of individuals, a coalition of groups.
Right.
Because without that coalition, you don't get John Ossoff as a US Senator.
Right.
Without that coalition, you don't get Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock as a US Senator. Tell those who are watching, because you got a lot of people who watch Indisputable, they want to get involved and they are organizers at heart. They may lack some of the experiential knowledge that you have. Tell us the secret sauce for the massive outreach and get out the vote activity you all were able to lead in Georgia.
Well, to me, it was a no-brainer. I'm a student of the movement. I watched Dr. King put together various coalitions. When you look at the SCLC leadership, they had Andrew Young over here, Jose Williams over there. And so I understood there's strength in diversity. I also know that we have a decent network of NAACP branches around the state, but that cannot be all of it. I had watched us in 2018 not have a very good turnout as different people had silos across. And so I knew that in order for us to be more effective, we had to get all of the people who were working in the field together, not working over each other, but working collectively, collaboratively together. And so we did that with the Prince Hall Masons, the Divine Nine, the People's Agenda, Georgia Stand Up, New Georgia Project, Black Vote Matters. And so we talked to each other. We talked about all the things that needed to be done to get this turnout. And I think it was effective. And we will become more effective as time goes on.
We've learned this in strategy that while there are some candidates who will still think, okay, we just need to get people out to vote. Well, that's not it. You have to tell them why they're voting. You have to connect the policy to their life and make it plain, make it substantive, make it connect. How are you all able to utilize policy to excite voters to vote in their self-interest?
Well, we focus on those policies, and we have a chart that says, hey, this is the police chief is appointed by the mayor, so you have to vote for the mayor. The district attorney, you vote for that. You vote for the judges. You vote for the Congress people. You vote for the legislature. And this chart spells out some factor or some element of their life and who directly affects that part of their life. And so we had to get that out to the public. And when we looked at, say for example, the senators, the runoff on January 5th, we talked about the things that the Senate would vote on that affected their lives: health care, housing, COVID relief, jobs, environment, and we put that to the voters, and it was effective in bringing people to the polls. You have to make it real. All politics is local, and that means not only is it local, but it's personal.
Is that one of the keys that maybe Democrats are missing sometimes, or progressives, is that we tend to nationalize a movement, but we can make the local argument just as well, and probably the local argument is more impactful? What are your thoughts on that?
I think absolutely the local argument is more impactful. And sometimes the Democrats talk beyond people, they talk above people instead of talking to them about what affects them. I think that's a mistake. And that's a mistake that we're not going to make. Only the grassroots activists we are united in that, in talking directly to the voter about the things that affects that voter and his or her family.
Years ago, when Michelle Nunn was running for US Senate, remember that?
Yeah.
Michelle Nunn was running for US Senate, daughter of Senator Nunn, very popular still in the state of Georgia and really nationally. She was running for the US Senate. All of the Democrats were behind her. I did not really know her platform. I didn't know what she really believed in. I know she hung out in some conservative circles, some Democratic circles. I was just really confused. But I got an email. It was leaked to me from her campaign. And the email was a strategy document. And the strategy document had their strategy for various demographics in the state. There was a strategy for the Jewish community. There was a strategy for white women between a certain age demographic. There was a strategy for white males. There was a strategy, and there was also strategy for black folk. Now, the strategy for all of the groups except black people involved policy. Every strategy was, here's what we're gonna tell them we'll do. Here's how we're gonna vote on this. Here's how we're going to make the policy argument. It was all policy for those groups. And then when it got to black people in Georgia, there was zero policy. It was contact this preacher, contact that influencer, make sure this entertainer is on the campaign. It was all about who could influence black folks to vote rather than a policy that would excite black folks to vote. And I exposed it on my show, contrary to many Democrats who wanted me to keep it secret. I was saying, no way to hell I'm keeping this secret, okay? But it showed the reality of what you just said about Democrats have typically talked beyond us and not just people, specifically black and brown folks in particular, right? Because they assume, okay, if we get your behind to the polls, you're just gonna vote for us, we don't have to give you anything. Well, that's why people are not excited about typical Democrats anymore.
Correct, absolutely. And it's a shame because there is much to talk about. People have needs, and it's really, when you study Maslow's theory of a hierarchy. For most black people, we at the lower levels. We just want food, we want shelter, we want housing, we want healthcare, we want the basics in life, And so when you miss those and when you forget about those issues for the people in our community, you are discouraging them from the ballot, and discouraging them from exercising their right to vote.
Yeah, very well said. I'm thankful for your continued leadership. Obviously, you all, to get out the vote coming up, is gonna be tough. And you know why? Because this administration, they're not exciting a lot of black people. They're not exciting people on the left at all. I know the NAACP is nonpartisan, but you are issues based.
Right.
You now have to say, here are the issues that are still important on the ballot. How do you plan to start pulling that off moving forward into this midterm cycle?
So one of the things we've done, we partnered with the Georgia Coalition for People's Agenda and commissioned a survey of voters to really understand. We focus on those low propensity voters, people who don't go often, and ask them what are their concerns? Why don't they vote? What will make them interested in the vote? We are pouring over that data now. We kind of stopped to do this election, but we will fashion our get out the vote efforts using this study that the Howard University Political Science Department did for us, and we will approach it there. We hope it's going to make a difference. We believe it can. We believe it must for our community. So
yeah, and I got to remind everyone, this is exactly what you led last time. It was a data-driven approach. You first surveyed voters. You understood. I remember you called me one night and you said, I think you had either 12 or 14. You knew the areas that had the most need as far as turnout.
Right.
But that was based on the science. Explain that to us.
So I was looking at the voter registration numbers every month because there were a lot of voter purges, going on in Georgia. Yeah. And so what I learned was that there are 17 counties in Georgia that contain 75% of the black voters. So we have 159 counties, but only 17 contain 75% of the voters. So from that 17, we branched out, we focused on those, and we ended up with 21 counties that contain 83.7% of the voters in Georgia, and that was our focus.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Out of 159 counties, you were able to say, okay, this is where we got to pay attention. And that makes the targeting and the strategy and the implementation more powerful because you don't dilute it by the massive geography of the state of Georgia.
Correct, absolutely. So it's all about numbers. We do our best to serve the community, focusing on the issues of the NAACP, voting rights, equal justice, economic opportunity, education, health, housing, and environment. And voting is essential to all of those things because politicians control these resources and they set policy, they vote zoning laws and so forth. So the vote is the number one thing that we have to pay attention to.
I really appreciate you being on the show today. I wanted my indisputable audience to meet you. You have been a great impact and guide in my life. For those who are watching and they would like to be supportive of the Atlanta NAACP, follow the Atlanta NAACP on social, how can they do so?
Sure, we at NAACP Atlanta on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Our website is naacpatlanta.org. You can send us a message in either of those formats. And if you want to donate or join, go to naacpatlanta.org, click on join, click on donate, or volunteer. We can always use volunteers for research projects, for phone banking, for everything. We need to serve the whole community, and we need the community to help us do that.
There are very few people that I can say, if that person is in a room, I don't need to be there. Because I know you're going to represent the community the right way. And you're one of those people, brother. I appreciate you being on Indisputable. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's been great working with you these years.
Same here, same here. All right, don't forget, Deep Dive coming up next. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.